Well, welcome to Paulette's Paper Play, and today we have 49 & Market's Wanderlust Explorer. This is so fun. They're 6x8 papers. There is the laser cuts as well as rub-ons. We're going to make some very fun projects, an album including, and you might look like this. So this is just a card using all of the things that are in this collection. And just great fun. You can see the inside, so please come play with us. Now before we get started, let me show you the papers that are in this collection. Now it's called the collection pack. It's really cardstock. It's 6x8. There are 27 sheets. And what they do, it's interesting because this is the kind of the title, but on the back is a sheet. So that works out nice, all of those backpacks. This happens to be the back of the package, and they did the same thing. So you get all of those cameras. Now here are the others with the herringbone. Oh, and they are double-sided. There you go. That's a light color. There we have all of the stamps and so forth with this. We have this, which is kind of a watercolor look and some wood. We've got the maps and this. And we have this with the grid on the back of it, and this with the grid on the outside and white on the inside. And this is another of the maps and flowers, and this has got a double frame. So those are the sheets. And so that's, like I said, 27 sheets is great. The laser cuts, there are 151 pieces in this. They're all kind of collaged there, but they are just gorgeous. And then the rub-ons, and I'll give you a short demo on how to use those. So let's get into our projects. And as I showed you, this is the first one. And this is our regular 5 by 6.5 inch card base. And I used this for the card front. So you can see as I put that there, it's going to fit nicely. And I like this collage look. It's throughout the whole collection, as you saw, but it just works so nicely. So I simply covered my card front by putting glue. I use a glue stick as my favorite. So I glued that down, positioned this, pressed it down, turned this over and trimmed it to fit. So that worked for me. Now you do get 3 pieces of those, so you don't have to worry if you desperately want to use it for something else. Now what I did, and we'll get in close so that you can see, is that I just went through and popped out the pieces of the laser that I wanted to use. And so this piece I thought was just great, but you know, it has a man's hat, so I really figured we had to put the woman's hat on there also. And the 2 boots, the map, and the camera, the compass, and the tags, those are all foam taped in place. Now I simply glued down the 2 coffee cups and the 2 passports, and I thought these little arrows were just really fun, and that's part of the laser cuts. Now you can use, when you've got big pieces like this, you could use whatever adhesive you want. So that works nicely. Sticky specs is my preference for when they get very detailed. So I'll show you that in the next one. The journey starts here and adventure awaits. Those are in the rub-ons. And so I thought I would just briefly show you what that looks like. So I'll do it on this same sheet. You'll want to trim out whatever you want to use. There is a backing sheet, and that works nicely. And you want to remove the backing sheet, just like this. One thing you do not want to do is to think that you can place this in different places and it will not attach. It's going to stick as soon as you put it down. Maybe not perfectly, but it is going to adhere. So you just want to make sure that you know where you're putting this down, and that's where you want it to be. So like I've done there. Now I used a bone folder. I used it on all of the projects because that's just going to get me a really good adhesion. So if you remember the rub-ons from years ago that were, shall we say, not perfect, these are really, really, really nice. Just, they work so well. And it's kind of a film that they're on. So what I do is when I burnished it down, I hold my finger on one end and I lift the other end. Okay. And then I start pulling it. Now, if I see any area that is not attached to the backing, I will stop, put this back down, and rub it, just to make sure that that's going to work. Jeanette, we want to get in really close. Okay, so there we go, even closer. Thank you. So as you can see, I've started lifting it, and just see that. So my head is over on the side so I can watch as I lift this. And it is perfect. Ta-da! Just like that. And then I kind of just rub it just to make sure that it really is all down. It is great. Now, with these, in fact, they say on the package that they are blendable, meaning you can put one over the other. So, you know, that's just another option. I don't think I used that in this collection of projects, but it is something that you can do. So then this just gets thrown away. So you are done. Isn't that great? So easy, so easy. I think the best thing is just to make sure that it's down before you remove that top, because it's kind of hard to, if you have missed an area, it's a little tricky to line that up perfectly. Okay, so there's the card front. You can see everything nicely, I hope. I let some things go over the frame purposely. So my map, my boots, the woman's hat, all of those are just kind of, you know, going outside the box, so to speak. Inside, I've used all rub-ons. So this is a rub-on. Isn't that pretty? Ready to explore. And then there are several of these in the collection of the rub-ons, and I thought that was really fun. So that is my first project. Now we're going to go to an album. Oh, the other thing I didn't tell you, my goodness, Paulette. Okay, pretty much on, well, 3 of the 4 projects, I did use the Velvet Fawn, my blending brush, my craft mat that you can't see, to go along the edges of the card, the album, and so forth. So just want to, that's kind of the thing that is universal through all of these. Okay, and that bone folder. Now we're going to go into an album, and I hope you like this. So the album I'm using is right here. Here's what it looks like when it is in the package. And you can see it has these ties that will loop through each other. I'll just lift that off. You see they go through this loop that is attached to the album. Now, normally, you might think you're going to do it this way, but I'll show you why I did it sideways. And on my first one, let me show you what I used. So I used this herringbone. In fact, I used it on all of the pieces that are inside the album. The reason why I use this, well, number one, it's really pretty, but also it matched this laser cut, and I thought that was really nice, and it kind of extended out the design. So I cut a piece of the herringbone, be right here. The directions are down below, just like always. And then I put this laser cut, and this laser cut has that doily, has the compass, and it has the herringbone as well as the flowers. Then I went ahead and this explore the ordinary, escape the ordinary, whoops, escape the ordinary, I stand corrected, that is a rub-on, and that worked nicely. I did use the Velvet Fawn around all the edges of this piece. Then I wanted to add a little bit of texture. So I went into our, these are kind of new flowers for us. These are the Little Birdies handmade flowers. This is called the Aqua Splash. And the blue just worked really nicely. There is another set of these that is called the Honey Apricot. And I could have used that also, but I like to just stay with the blue set. And you can see there's different shades in there. There's even some tan. It worked perfectly with this. And just did some drops of the specialist glue and placed those. I did make sure that they were not going to interfere with this, this leather tie, because I didn't want to be having these come off or get crushed or anything. So that worked nicely for me. So just rub on a laser cut and the paper. It's one of each thing that we have. Now I'm going to open this up, and I'll tell you that as I looked at the laser cuts, it was really fun for me, because there was this big van, there's an airplane, there's also a train. And I thought about the places that my family and I have gone using those methods of transportation. So in each of these, I simply used this paper, cardstock, out of the set. Remember I told you it has these 2 frames? Just trimmed it in half and used one for each section. How neat is that? So this piece, it's got all the grungy kind of stuff ready for me. Then I put my big, I put the herringbone. Remember I said I wanted to use that throughout the whole piece. So because this is facing this way, I put the herringbone on the left, and I slightly overlapped it when I placed that in position. I used this and this and this. All 3 of those are laser cuts. So just doing that little collection, letting it go off the edge. The Discover is one of the rub-ons, so that worked nicely. Did the same thing on the airplane, except the airplane is coming from the opposite direction, so my herringbone went on the right. My plane, I love this. I must go, it's done in that curve. I didn't do anything special. I just rubbed it on. Memories, not sure if you can see that. It's really fine. This is a blob of the rub-on, so added that. So on the left side, on the right side, and then on the left side again. So I've got the train coming. Embrace the Journey is a rub-on. The herringbone is on this side. And this is also a rub-on with the compass. And I've got the train. So as I was thinking about all of this, I'm going to pull these off. And I hope this works beautifully. Because I thought, well, you know, it's fun to have these, but I also, well, that didn't go as smoothly as I had anticipated, but let me just do this. I thought, well, how fun to tell a story about each of these modes of transportation. So I had hoped that that would come off a little smoother. So what I did is, now I did this on a piece of craft, but for you, you could just do it on the sheet that's right, right below it. So I talked about, we had a van because I was doing art and craft shows. My husband built a platform, and we went from Oregon or California to Wisconsin every year while the kids were growing up to visit my husband's relatives. So I did that story, and I added, these 2 are the laser cut, but this is a rub-on. And of course I'm going to do the arrows because I think they're just fun. So that gave me a story. So when I went to my next one, which is the airplane, well, I have a story about an airplane too. And my story is about a trip that our kids and we and my eldest son's wife went to Washington. We were going to go take a small plane up to an island. We were going to see wildlife. But I got food poisoning, so Mike and I stayed at the hotel while I was throwing up, and we watched the Olympics while the kids went and saw bears and osprey and all sorts of wonderful things. Okay, my third one, this may be more information than you want. If so, just, fast forward from me. So the train, my story, again, this is a rub-on. Now there's 2 rub-ons here, no die cuts, but that beautiful big train. So my husband and I took a trip to Alaska, and from Denali State Park back to Anchorage, we took a train, And it was so fun to be in the car that had a glass dome and looking out. And as the train is going around a bend, we are in the mountains and we're on a bridge, and you could see the back of the train, and we were in the front of the train. It was glorious, absolutely fun. So that is another way that you can use this as kind of a, you know, an album, absolutely. So that is my second project. I hope you like that. Let me know. We do have these albums. They're just a really neat closure, and they're about this craft color too. So that worked. Now I thought, okay, well, what if you didn't want to do that? What if you really wanted to turn them into cards? Well, this is a card using the exact same thing that I did. So there's the herringbone, there's that half piece, but I've placed this on a 6.5 by 5 card, so it's looking smaller. Now, you may have noticed that in the art there were doilies, so I thought, you know, we have doilies, but I really wanted to go with this kind of orange color, and the ink pad is gingerbread, so it just works so nicely. So I am using this sheet to cover my card, and then again, I'm using this, I'm using the herringbone, I'm using the laser cut there. But then I'm adding into the laser cuts, there is a whole sheet or sheet and a half of these flowers. And so I thought, let's do the feminine side of this. So I inked just the edge of my doily with the gingerbread. And then I foam taped these two. And then I used the black script dazzles. That's live. I use the brown ones. These are brown. I'm not sure if you can tell, but I've got happy there. And on the inside of my card, where I've got the other half of this sheet, the doily's right there. So this time, rather than just doing the edge of the doily, I did the whole thing using my blending brush. So I just, did the edge, and then I just kind of squished it into the center. After I glued this piece down, I glued this down. You really, you can do this with sticky specs. It works great. You can just do the center part of it, and then I trimmed off the excess, so I didn't need my whole piece. This is another of the laser cuts, and so this is going to read "Happy Birthday with Love." So that just worked nicely. So you can still take this layout that I used on the album and use it on a card if you would like to do that. Okay, now remember I said in the laser cuts there's a whole sheet or two sheets of the flowers? Well, here is a part of that. And I thought these can be very masculine. I did them as a family with the album, but I thought let's make a feminine card. And what I want you to see, well, of course, this is a slim line, and this is the paper that I used. There's the back side of it. And I thought it was so pretty with the flowers. So just trimmed it to fit on my slimline cards. We have a package of 10 slimline with 10 envelopes. And this is one piece of the laser cut. In fact, it actually goes a little bit further, so you do need to trim it. Now, in using the sticky specs, and I really find it so useful for these that are very intricately cut. So let me demonstrate if I can find my little piece that I held out for this demonstration. La, 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 there it is. Okay. Now, this piece is a pretty solid because it's a backpack, but as an example, so the sticky specs come with 4 sheets in the package. You don't cut them down. You just leave them solid. You lift the liner, and then this has got a million little dots of adhesive. So you simply press this down. Now, if you want to, you can put this over and press it, but I've not found that to be necessary. You get enough of them just by gently tapping it. So I'm going to lift this, and you will have lots of things on it already. I'm going to go back to that sheet that I used to demonstrate the rub-on, and all you do is place it push it down, and you're done. So it just works really, really well. So I highly recommend that, especially on intricate things, cutting dies and laser cuts. So that whole piece I attached with the sticky tape, sticky specs. I did have to trim it. And then this is one piece kind of coming from the corner, and I just really wanted that. But then I needed something more. So I wanted to use these dazzles. These are just butterfly dazzles, but I wanted to do something special with them. So Jeanette, can you get in there really tight, please? And I want to show you those butterflies. Do you see the glitter? How pretty. Yeah, that's nice and tight. Now, it was a little tiny bit of a struggle to do that, so I figured out an easier way that I can share with you. So we're going to take the sheet of butterflies. You can tell I was, these are the ones I used actually. And then you use the clear glitter adhesive sheets. Now, I wrote the title that we use. This is what the folks in Holland use. They call it glitter foil, but that isn't really the way we use it. So it has, they're sheets like this. They're A4 size, and they have the glitter, and I know you've seen this because I've shown it. Hopefully you've seen it. It has the glitter embedded in the plastic, and it is adhesive. So clear glitter adhesive, that's why we call it that. Not a fun name like sticky specs, but we've got it. So all you're going to do is to take this piece and place the butterfly on it. Now, I have left this part uncut for a reason, because what I found is when I cut the whole thing out, I really struggled to get that backing sheet off the glitter. So what I recommend that you do is put your butterfly on the glitter sheet, trim out, just like I've done. In fact, you want to use the small scissors because they are just so much better. Then lift off the backing sheet. See, that way you've got a great big piece over here to hold it. And then go back and finish trimming. Now, it was, like I said, it was a little tricky to pry off that backing sheet when I had cut all the way around. So that's just a bit of information for you. And you can do just exactly what I'm doing. It's just, you want to cut right next to the dazzle's edge. And then, and see, that's what it does when you only have, when you take the backing off. But it's not much to have it kind of stick while you're doing it this way. So this way I have my butterfly, and I'm just going to throw these pieces away. And it's just very easy to place it on your card. Now, you can't do the 3D thing with this the way I've done it, but it does give you that glitter look. Now, the Thinking of You comes from the We're Together dazzles, and this is the black set. There's 2 sheets, one that's long and one that has the word stacked. On the inside of my card, I have another part of that same sheet with the same paper. Now, I've got a couple, probably three pieces that I've sticky specked together over here. This is another butterfly. Now, that butterfly does not have the glitter. Okay, so, you know, I just really like the look of it with the glitter. So, and then the Missing You is part of that same dazzle. So this becomes no inking for this card, but it gives us a very feminine card, which I thought was really nice to do in this gorgeous collection of Wanderlust Explorer. I'm going to put my butterfly down there. That's a nice little package of things that I've done in this webisode. So there you go. That's my take on Wanderlust Explorer. You've got the papers. You have the laser cuts. There are 4 sheets. They are each 12 inches long, and you get 151 pieces. You know, I didn't use anywhere near any large number of that. And on the rub-ons, you get 3 sheets. Again, they're the same height. And I didn't count the rub-ons, and they didn't count them for us, but there's a lot in there. And I've got a lot left over, so that's really nice. Now, this is in a money saver, of course. It's on the right-hand side of your screen. The instructions are down below. Just click on the project and you can see them, and I will give you all the information there. I didn't give you the information about what I did with the butterfly and leaving that extra piece, so that's what I have for you on the webisode. If you are watching us on YouTube, I hope that you will subscribe to us, like us. Head on over to Paper Wishes where you can find this collection and find the instructions and that wonderful album and all the wonderful goodies that we have included in this webisode. I hope you liked it. Tell me what you think about the album. Tell me what you think about using it as a mini album, because that was really fun. It was kind of a nice trip down memory lane for me. Okay, I want to thank you for joining us, and I want to thank you for being part of our Paper Wishes family. We'll see you again.